Okay, welcome back. I believe when we last left off, we could dream or we could wander. You're staying the night. Let's wander. Apologizing to Towa internally, I slipped out of bed, feet grazing the cool floor as I found my slippers. The halls were dim and silent, enveloped in quietude. Most of these rooms were unused. I cracked open an unfamiliar door, peeking in, and found a study of sorts. It was lined with full bookshelves. Any furniture like desks or stands was covered with even more books and loose papers. Stacks upon stacks of books covered the floor. I promptly entered. As I did, I nearly tripped over an item on the floor. Whoa! I stumbled for balance, only to step on and slip again on a book, sloppily thrown on the ground. Groaning, I waited for my eyes to adjust a little before continuing. The study was dark, so even as my pupils dilated, I couldn't make out much. I felt around the bookshelves, squinting. Amidst theological books for all the religions of the world, a few biology books, and a foreign language books, I found an inconspicuous journal squeezed in the cracks. On the cover was the owner's name, Mikami Yasunobu. As I started opening the journal, a photograph dropped out from between the pages. It fell to the ground with nary a whisper. I crouched down to pick it up, finding a picture of a woman. Even in the lack of light, I could tell she was a beauty. On the back of the photo was a love note with her name. This was Mikami Yasunobu's wife, Mikami Itoha's mother. She doesn't look like the girls at all. Hoping that the white of the paper would help me read the dark text inside, I opened the journal again. The dead man wrote of daily affairs. Nothing much, a lamentation on Itoha's poor health and how special she was. Detective? I didn't read very far before a voice interrupted. Only one person called me that here. Eh? Fumbling with my hand to the wall for the light switch, I hit something that filled the study with brightness. I instantly regretting it, my eyes tearing up from the sting of light. Shiki stood there, frowning with irritation. I saw an ice pick in her hand. No, that looked more like an awl. Considering the situation, the difference likely had no bearing. She smiled acidly. I don't mind you investigating, but don't do things that might get Towa mixed up with it. Is that a threat? Maybe. Shiki frowned. You see, my sister is a kind girl, but there are terrible things in this town. Brows furrowed with anger. Shiki lifted her hand to throw the awl. I squeezed my eyes shut, raising my arms before my face. How in the world was she going to aim that thing when she couldn't see? Thunk. Hearing the sharp sound beside my ear, I turned to see the tool embedded in the spine of a book. You shouldn't throw that type of thing at people. Shiki smiled. I know. I suppose I missed. Let's go back to bed, detective. Girls need their beauty sleep. Shiki tugged on my jacket and led me out of the study. During the bed, I had trouble falling asleep, but eventually morning came. I want to see both these choices. Real dream. Was I dreaming? I slipped out of bed, forgetting to put on my slippers, and walked out of the guest room into the city. Finding myself in my work office, I walked around. Oh, we are definitely dreaming. It was small and crowded. A desk and couch and coffee table and storage furniture, and a decorative plant all bunched together. The city's skyline was dotted with lights for the surrounding buildings. I noticed a messy manila folder. The desk with Shoko's handwriting all over it. In fact, the desk looked similar to when Shoko had been using it. Atop the folder was a quick note complaining about the children. Inside were a number of files on the stringless god. Shoko noted similarities to a European belief and a cult in the Mediterranean that was exported to the American East Coast. At the same time, she mentioned that the shrine had existed in her town for centuries. Salvation, rebirth, sacrifice. Those were terms often highlighted in the crumpled and re-smoothed notes in the folder. Sifting through the papers, I found a cut of Mikami Itoha's obituary from the local paper, as well as a medical document that I had no clue how Shoko had gotten her hands on. Mikami Itoha was sickly, born with a degenerative heart disease that started worsening after her teens. Hereditary. From this chromosome on that section, the document station stated. That was the story, and because of that, Mikami Itoha died. Was that so? How creative my nightmare hallucinations were. I saw a figure in the shadows and approached. Shoko? Unable to see in the darkness, I called out for Shoko. It wasn't Shoko, not even in my dream. It was an indistinguishable person, male. That person with no strings. His shape started to become more monster than human, growing more and more familiar by the second. I backed away, waist quickly hitting the desk. Oh shit. He stabbed me, flinging my body over the desk into the city streets as if I had smashed through the windows of the office. The setting switched to daytime. My head cracking on the asphalt, the dream returned to the same mold. I started preparing to count the number of stabs. If you see me. And he spoke, even though I had never remembered him speaking. With your golden eye. Stab. Morning came. I had fallen out of bed, neck covered in cold sweat. I had breakfast together with the Mikami twins and headed out with Towa. Towa informed me that some members of the shrine were finishing the last-minute preparations for the thread-cutting sword dance tomorrow. She would go meet them, and I tagged along. We went to the shrine early. Towa looked to me. Would you like me to cut another string for you, Mana? Thinking about the strange feeling that rushed through my body as my string was cut, I shook my head. I would become strange. No, thank you. There's a correct order for events, and I think now's not the right time. Towa nodded. Before long, a handful of townspeople gathered at the shrine. While working on final touches to some event details, they chatted about the dance and many miscellaneous topics, such as people who had moved to the city. With that digression, I couldn't help but think of the man who put me in the hospital for such a long time. Although he did not resemble a human in my memories, the profile I was shown was indeed human. I asked if they knew him. A youth who had once fancied Mikami Itoha, a moderately pious person, they described him as such. Oh. The townspeople mentioned the man's move to the city, and lamented his involvement in some sort of violent crime. They had no idea that the victim was before them. I didn't bother continuing the thread, so that conversation drifted once more. An older townsperson called out to the group off to the side. They approached, a squad of monsters, dripping red and black, bursting out of human bodies in broad daylight. Oh, hi there! My shoulders stiffened and my body froze, but no one else was reacting. I wonder if that's the point of that dream. Can you see me with your golden eye? No one else can see what they've truly become, once all their strings were cut. But we can, Mana can with her golden eye. Drip. What's this? Reality. This had to be real. I wasn't such an insecure person that I doubt the eyes that I had built my livelihood up upon. What a terrible thought. How was I supposed to deal with monsters that only I could see? Keeper, with her light hair, stood out amongst this crowd as the only human. Yet she, like the others, had no strings. She looked at me with her floaty gaze. I'm glad to see you're so interested in the shrine. Sorry for intruding. She smiled. No, we're happy to have you here. Please, visit and spend as much time as you'd like to at the shrine. Have you ever thought about becoming a priestess? Perhaps exploring the unknowns of not just the human world, but also beyond? She gazed hungrily at my eyes. Your eyes are also special. They're wonderful. Everyone paused to stare at me, at my left eye. Even Towa. Monster seems to squint at it, glancing towards Keeper as if to ascertain her words' meanings. Their many red eyes and teeth pointed towards me. Our guest does have a golden eye. Maybe that's a blessing of the stringless god. If I can convince you to stay around, we'll be able to have a 2-person dance again, or even 3. It really is a shame about the other priestess. Foster's buzzed. Isn't that a big statement, even as a joke? If Keeper says so, then everyone should be fine with it. Our priestess also likes you. I looked towards Keeper beseechingly, only to get a chuckle. I'm not joking. Please do think of it. The group chatted, buzzing and dripping, intermingling with human speech in a cacophony of sounds that filled my ears. I couldn't understand any of it. Keeper clapped, interrupting the noise. Now then, we've chatted long enough. Let's not bother the 2 girls and continue with the last of the preparations. It's either going to be a long day, or a short day. What does that mean? Keeper grinned. We'll let the priestess practice before the dance. Keeper passed over a long wrapped object in her hand to Towa, and then made a low wave. Bowing, Keeper led the others away. Left behind were only Towa and me. She unwrapped the long item, placing the cloth covering to the ground, revealing a hard, dark object, a Japanese sword. With one smooth stroke, she unsheathed it, revealing shining metal. Is this a real sword? Towa smiled. Yeah, yes. Reached out my right index finger to touch the blade. Towa's smile quickly morphed into slight shock. It's sharp. Don't touch it, Nana. She stopped my hand with hers, wrapping her soft, slender fingers around mine and gently pushing my arm down. Towa looked handsome holding a sword. My heart responded to that thought, my ears suddenly getting warm. Will you dance for me? Do you want to see? Yes. We are supposed to be practicing for this very important ceremony, but we are very much flirting right now. Towa smiled. She nodded and took a large step back, making space between me and her. Towa closed her eyes and raised the blade to cut an invisible something in the air, drawing an arc of light with the blade. After sweeping her arm to the side, she danced around an imaginary stage. The air seemed to ripple, sparkling with infinite and shining colors. Light trailed after her like fairies wanting to be seen by her pretty eyes. Her cutting movements came with not one hint of violence. Flying around the stage with soft footsteps, Towa showed me a dance of graceful swordplay. All invisible things were cut with a radiant blade. She glowed. If the world ever extinguished this light, then the world was wrong. Transient, the dance ended as soon as it started. Towa slowed her movements, raising the sword to the skies of offering light, and lowered the blade, sheathing it. Towa walked toward me again. She looked a little sad. This dance should be for 2 people. Ever since Shiki's, we modified it. What does the other half look like? I shook my hands into her own. Towa softly smiled at me. It should be like this. And led me. Oh. I stumbled into the steps of the choreography. We spun and danced across the imaginary stage with the sheathed sword nestled between her and my hand. She looked me in the eye, her smile making my heartbeat quicken. She and I cut invisible things with a sword that could not cut, a sheath that was not sharp, yet our movements still glittered like droplets under the sunlight. I saw imprints of strings. The strings of the world, colors that made me abruptly think. This world was beautiful. Had this world always been so wonderful? I didn't know when we finished. If only I had the chance to see both priestesses perform. Afterwards, Towa practiced some more. I lost track of time. Towa looked at me seriously. I have something to show you. I'll show you, Mikami Itoha. Her voice went very, very quiet for the last 2 words. Eh? Without saying another word, she led me around to the door I saw my very first day. I had completely forgotten about it, at the time unable to uncover its secrets. Oh, here we go. She opened the door to an endless flight of stairs and we began to walk. Lights lining the rough stone wall barely lit up the spiraling staircase. All the stairs, including the banister, were all built from wood. Hand touching the cold wall, looking at her back in the dim lighting, I followed her through the darkness. matter how many steps and turns we took, the end was nowhere. My knees began to ache, and my lungs hurt. Feeling embarrassed at how out of shape I was, I tried not to pant. Shiki doesn't know about this. Finally she spoke. She broke the silence, slowing her pace. Mikami Itoha is dead. She died and she was buried in a private funeral. We were there to see as Mikami Itoha's remaining kin, so Shiki doesn't know about this. Then we continued down. Something she's opening up to us about after really getting to know her and winning her trust and probably affection. And then we continued down. Down, down. After endless steps, she stopped. I bumped into her back, only not falling over thanks to her steady posture. We had reached the floor. Passing through a section of darkness, eyes slowly adjusting, we made it to a cramped room. In the room sat a glass coffin. Oh, Mikami Itoha. The woman had been supposedly dead for years, yet was not a cell rotten. Like her empty grave, her body had no strings that I could see. She was wearing a long white dress. Is she alive? No, Mikami Itoha is dead. Towa traced her hand over the glass and then retracted it as if touching something disgusting. Indeed, the woman was not breathing. Looking not a day older than in the photo in my pocket, Mikami Itoha's unrotting corpse slept in a crypt beneath the shrine. But how? It's not scientific for a body not to rot. There are scenarios where they can be preserved well, but never this well. What is Mikami Itoha? Shoko, you really did it this time. Mikami Itoha was dead. Mikami Itoha was not dead. What a thing to say to Shoko's grave. I found the person Shoko had been searching for, but this wasn't a satisfying conclusion. Deflated, I lowered my shoulders and sighed. Case closed? No, but I didn't know if I could find anything more. Thank you, Towa, for showing me this. Not sure what to say. No. She paused, also staring at Mikami Itoha. That's all right. Mikami Itoha is my mother. The woman who gave birth to us, incubating our cells within her cold body and forcing us into the world. Well, that could be considered a mother. Whoa. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa. We are children of a holy woman. That was what both my father, her father, and Keeper rejoiced. Do you think such children like us are unnatural, Nana? I looked at Towa. I took her hand, a warm and soft and shaking hand. No. You're a perfectly normal human being. Not anything more strange than me or anyone else. We're talking about unnatural. Shouldn't it be something more absurd, like Susanoo, Amaterasu, and Tsukiyomi? Or the Greeks born from foam and foreheads? That popular savior figure, that certain Abrahamic religion was also born in an unusual way. Yeah. Pretty girl out of a Sleeping Beauty isn't so bad. You're prettier than her, though. If you're trying to cheer me up with flattery, it's working. It's not flattery, it's just the truth. It's both. Towa let me poke around the small room for a while, with restriction on opening the coffin. I found no explanations for the sleeping dead woman. With nothing else I could do here, we made to leave. No elevator in sight, we trudged all the way back up the stairs. Never wanted to lift my feet back and forth again. Oh, Keeper was waiting back at the shrine, now bathed in afternoon light. I see you visited the crypt. Towa frowned. I apologize. Keeper narrowed her eyes connivingly. No, our special guest is welcome to see our holy woman. She smiled. The The time for salvation is nigh. The dead will return, and everyone will become free with the greatest blessing of the stringless god. I'm happy you could get closer to all of us, Shirasagi-mana. We would love for you to become part of this grand ritual of shining light, a third priestess. Well, Towa seemed conflicted, maybe even displeased. I had no idea what Keeper was talking about. Yet a part of me believed in what she was saying, that a stringless god existed and they could be worshipped. What exactly was salvation? After all, these strings must have had meaning. I'm afraid I'm just a tourist. Keeper continued smiling, despite the rejection. My invitation is always open. She turned to leave. Have a good evening, the two of you. Tomorrow will be a good day. I followed Towa inside the shrine to the altar room, where she lit a candle and prayed. You should come over and have a few drinks with me. She looked at me with a muted and innocent expression. Sure. Do you drink often? She shook her head. Oh, girl. After exiting the shrine building, we walked together to the inn and bought some alcohol, a few bottles of soju of various flavors. Night had fallen. The innkeeper greeted us when we entered the inn, then we promptly made it to my room. Having Towa take a seat, I set out our spoils. Asked her to choose a bottle. She poured out a random bottle. At random to a bottle of peach soju, so I cracked it open and poured her a cup. She poured me a cup as well. Oh, cheers. Cheers, Towa repeated after me with less energy. Cheers. She looked at me curiously. What for exactly? A case closed? I just wanted to get close to you, Towa. Towa smiled. I also want to get closer to you, Mana. We drank. Chit-chatting about random topics, I noticed at times she would simply raise the cup to her lips and sip, if she didn't have anything in particular to say. How do you like the flavor? Her face was a little flushed. It's like alcoholic juice. Does it really have a 25% alcohol content? She happily smiled. Maybe it's a little similar to shochu. I like it. It's a relatively sweet type of alcohol, especially the flavored ones. I'm partial toward it since it's easy to drink with other people. Umeshu and shochu are nice too. Not a big fan of beer. I don't like barley tea too much either. Do you have a favorite drink? Towa seemed unsure. I don't know. I don't drink enough to know. Only had the type that you can find with kanji scribbled all over the bottles. Even though your house is like that? She affirmed with a smile. We cracked open another bottle, this time the flavor yogurt. Yogurt-flavored alcohol. Interesting. It's pretty popular to mix this with Yakult and soda. Towa was curious. Why mix? Because it tastes good. Sipping on the yogurt-flavored soju, she leaned on my shoulder and gazed on my face with a mysterious expression. Oh. Yummy? Wondered how she would react to whiskey. First time I tried that mysterious golden drink, my tongue felt like it was on cold fire. Compared to soju, which went down like water, that drink packed a punch. Apparently I made a funny face that Shoko wished she had recorded. Are you drunk? Towa pouted. No, I'm not drunk. Towa buried her face in my shoulder and peeked at me again. Somehow she seemed upset that I was still looking at her. Making a few mumbling sounds, she eventually lifted her head. Towa frowned deeply, upset. Do I seem like an older sister? Why? Towa pouted. I'm a few minutes older, so I'm the older sister. But I can't protect Shiki ever. I'm so bad at it. Just keep messing things up. I want to give up. Her eyes became misty, clouded with tears. Oh no. I just want her to be happy. I don't want to be left alone. My mother's not human, and our father was just in name only. I don't think she wants to be protected by you. Towa became insistent. But I want to protect her. Anguish filled her intoxicated features. It's my fault she got hurt. She can't see anymore. She's my precious little sister. I don't want to be held down by fake strings. I want her to also be saved, but what if she's right? What if it doesn't matter and I'm choosing the wrong choice? Because even if we're not free, we can still be sisters. Is Shiki happy? Do you think she hates me? No, there's no black string between you two. She seemed hesitant. Should I trust you? I like you, so I'll trust you. Don't betray my trust, Mana. Towa tugged my jacket sleeve and narrowed her watery eyes. She pouted. Or else I'll puke on you. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Bleh. Towa smiled weakly. Oh my gosh. Just kidding. Don't hate me. I would never. I like you very, very much, Towa. Towa began to relax. I like when you call my name. Wobbling back and forth, Towa leaned on me again. She closed her eyes, placing her head on my shoulder, a cute pink dusting her cheeks. A slight guilt pierced my heart at making this girl drunk. I hadn't realized that her tolerance was so low. Context clues? It probably could have made that assumption, but I ignored the shoko in my head, telling me that we were both alcoholics. I was perfectly normal since I didn't go around puking in other people's toilets, Shoko. I lightly shook Towa's shoulder. Her lips parted slightly. Ascertained that she seemed all right. Teary golden eyes gazed toward me, shaking as she nodded slowly. Do you want some water? Got up, gently removing her hands that she had wrapped around my arm. After pouring her a cup of warm water, I returned to my seat beside her. I held up the cup to her lips to help her drink. After having some water, Towa closed her eyes and cuddled against my shoulder again. Oh. Somehow I managed to get her into a futon. Catch a cold if she fell asleep on me. I was such a cold person that I'd seep away her warmth. That's... I get where that's coming from, practically, but just hearing her put it that way in this situation just makes me feel sad. Brushing her hair out of her face, I pulled the covers over her body. Good night. She was really cute. Noticed that her expression appeared much more relaxed as she slept, breathing softly. She must have been thinking a lot. Was Towa happy? It was nice seeing Towa relaxed. She seems so composed, I wonder how forced that composure is. I decided to go to bed as well. More comfortable than usual, I closed my eyes. Sleep came quickly. In the end, I woke up in the middle of the night. I headed to the bathroom and took a quick shower. Feeling how hot water run past the rough marks across my skin, I saw a Frankenstein's monster reflected in the shower glass. I wiped myself off and started putting on a change of clothes. Underwear first, then shirt. Preferred that order of dressing. But then, with my shirt partway on my shoulders, hands wiggling through the sleeves, I heard a sound. The door cracked open, letting the bathroom light filter out the room. Towa groggily peeked inside. I clutched my shirt over myself, knowing that it wouldn't hide anything. All these scars were in plain view, ugly and red. Get out. Ooh! My voice escaped my mouth more harshly than intended. Jolting in surprise, she quickly closed the door. That music cut was very effective. I don't know what sort of me was reflected in those clear golden eyes of hers at that moment. Promptly got dressed and exited the bathroom to find Towa. She frowned, apologetic. Anna, I'm sorry you had to see that. I should apologize for forgetting to knock. No, it's all right. Traced over the various scars hidden underneath my clothes, fingers trembling as they felt textured, not like shirt over smooth skin. It's dirty, so you should just forget it. You probably didn't expect to see something so ugly underneath here. It's probably disappointing. She shook her head and stared me in the eyes. She spoke resolutely. Anna, you're beautiful. You have beautiful, shining eyes. The girl with beautiful eyes said to me. Oh? The next day came and passed and by in a blur. Oh! In the evening, I visited the location of the thread-cutting sword dance. Groups of townspeople had already arrived and were still coming. Brushes and grass surrounded the area. The night hung overhead. I stood somewhere in the middle of the crowd, everyone looking with anticipation toward a finely constructed wooden stage. It was massive, with strings of various colors tied around wooden poles and decorating the edge. A pale yellow backdrop had a large red ribbon pinned up with red spider lily bouquets. Long strings hung down from the bouquets and nearly touched the floor. White flowers snaked around the wooden columns in front. At the foot of the stage was a line of decoration that alternated between yellow lanterns and more red spider lilies. Strings crisscrossed across my whole vision, connecting the many, many people here. The entire town seemed to have come to watch. Soon Towa appeared on the stage. She wore a long red kimono, sleeves tied up with her white tsuki. Her simple right obi trailed behind her with many ribbons. White bandage was tied around her left ankle, and she wore black zori sandals. Towa began to dance, holding a sword in her hand. She swept the sword through the air, not too fast, not too slow, as if offering light to a god. The air crackled with infinite colors, leaving everyone enraptured. All chatter disappeared. I could take out my phone to record, but I didn't want to gaze at this scene through a camera. My eyes, mismatched and strange, were fixated on her figure. She danced across the stage, graceful steps making not a sound, even the silence of the crowd's bated breath. That sharp blade, she cut invisible strings. She was like a fairy and sparkled. To think that such a beautiful person with such beautiful movements existed in this world. I liked her very, very much. Not just her outside, but also her heart. Then I saw them. Although strings hung taut in the air, a nearby section of the crowd had nothing but monsters, whose many, many eyes gazed at Towa. Hey, you who are looking at this scene right now, the dripping black and red, the empty space with no emotion, this unknown that made my heart scream in fear. Did monsters really exist in this world? Ah! These choices are going to be important, aren't they? That's 3 times now. This is reality. Towa finished the dance. I seemed to see all the strings in the world for a moment. There are many, many colorful strings of different shades, different thicknesses, different opacities. The crowd was silent. Then they all began to applaud, cheering for the perfect performance and beginning a celebration by breaking out food and drinks. Even now, no one noticed the monsters, so I looked away. It seemed only I could see the monsters. I wanted to figure out what they mean. Having always seen black lines that no one else could, I wasn't surprised that there would exist yet another oddity only I could see. These monsters were real. I thought about my schedule. I had planned my trip to end soon, as financially speaking, I couldn't stay here forever. I finished my initial goal as well. My scars pulsed, reminding me of my poor physical state. Imagining if I had to confront the monsters, I shuddered. Here I had no backup because I wasn't on an official case, private or in contract with law enforcement. If I claimed to see monsters, they'd instantly send me to an insane asylum. I'd soon be back in Tato. Why did a pang of loneliness hit? Walking away from the rambunctious crowd, I spotted Towa coming off the back of the stage. I followed after her, not bothering to call out. Keeper appeared and began to speak with Towa. I could hear their conversation from my distance. Keeper was frowning. Towa then dropped to her knees? Her expression was filled with grief and pain. Seeing her shoulders tremble, I dashed over. I placed my hand steadily around her and hugged her. Her eyes were filled with tears. Nana! Her voice cracked. I looked toward Keeper, furrowing my brow in question. I didn't know what Keeper could say to make Towa look as if she was about to cry. Keeper's expression contained no grief or reluctance. Our other priestess has passed away. Shiki, no! Towa sharply breathed in. What? Why? How? What? Mikami Shiki is dead. A whimper. She passed away due to undetected heart disease. Heart failure, so to say. It's an illness that runs in the Mikami family and has taken her away as well. That is sus! She smiled. But be at ease, for the time of salvation will come and all will be well soon enough. I never heard such bullshit before. What? Keeper shook her head and began to walk away. She turned back to us and gestured politely with a bow. Please, follow me. I supported Towa back to her feet and we trailed after Keeper. She walked away for the stage area. Leading us up a familiar flight of stairs, Keeper took us to the shrine and brought us inside. There lied Shiki on the ground. Her hands were placed crossed upon her chest. If I had known to look for her breathing, I would have thought that she was sleeping, albeit in an unusually stiff position. She wasn't breathing. Shiki was dead. Towa rushed over to her sister's side, only to be blocked with Keeper's arm. Tears dripped silently down Towa's face as she stared pleadingly at Keeper. I tried stepping forward and was stopped as well. Keeper looked at us sternly. No one may touch her body. Why? The look on her face as she spoke was difficult to decipher. Because that is what must be done for her to receive blessings. After speaking, Keeper pushed the two of us outside the shrine building and closed the door. Nearly collapsing again, Towa clung onto my jacket, shaking her head back and forth, as if completely lost in this world. Her voice trembled. Tears were still streaming down her face. She pleaded, Don't leave. I don't want to be alone. I slowly pried her tight fingers off my jacket and embraced her. I won't leave. Do you want to stay with me tonight? I imagine her alone in that large house without her sister. It would be too painful, too cruel to leave her there. She nodded into my chest, wetting my shirt with her silent tears. We walked to the inn together. Luckily the innkeeper was absent at the front, so we slipped by without showing anyone Towa's reddened eyes. I had Towa take a seat in my inn room. She was still teary-eyed, but wasn't actively sobbing. Pouring her a cup of warm water, I gently rubbed her back, hoping to calm her down. There wasn't much I could do, given that she had just learned of her sister's death. I'll help you investigate what happened to your sister, I promise. Towa became angry. My fault. No. Damn broke. Her tears were back in full force. She shouted in grief. It's my fault. Why? Why? No. Towa, it's not your fault. Towa slowly started to lose her burst of grief-filled, angry energy. But Shiki's dead. My sister, she's never going to do anything again. I'm sorry. Loud sobs eventually returned to soft sniffles. Nothing I could say or do would console Towa that Shiki's death couldn't be her fault. She rubbed her eyes raw. Neither of us could sleep well. Turning to the shrine the next morning, we heard a commotion even from the bottom of the step of the stairs. Towa still wasn't doing well, her eyes threatening to fill up with tears at any moment. crowd had gathered. Keeper stood at the front to make an announcement. Beside Keeper stood a woman. The woman had black hair, pale skin, a white dress, and red, unusual eyes. An earring with a crystal was attached to her right ear. Towa was shocked, confused. No. Mikami Itoha stood next to Keeper. She breathed and blinked and did otherwise the activities of a living human being. She was a dead woman, yet she was alive. The photo in my pocket burned. From the distance, Mikami Itoha glanced toward me. Her eyes met mine, filling my throat with a burning, freezing fear. I looked away. Towa weaved through the crowd to reach the front. I followed, still avoiding Mikami Itoha's eyes. Keeper beamed with passionate reverence. The time for salvation is here. A holy woman has returned to us, brought back from the dead. The stringless God's blessing upon us all. We will all have freedom and light. Her mad eyes widened. We will all be saved from the false strings that puppet humanity. And finally we will reach the shining world. Each and every one of us will have that which we most yearn for, our deliverance from suffering. Mikami Itoha approached me and lightly tapped above my right eye. I recoiled in surprise, my right eye warped in pain. The crowd gasped as Keeper suddenly took my shoulders in her hands and turned me to face the townspeople. She is blessed. Her eyes have become golden. What? Towa was worried. Keeper grinned. Shirasagi Mana has been given the glory of priestesshood for the final ritual that will make all right in this world. Today will be salvation. Oh boy, what are we wrapped up in now? Infinite colors crossed over my vision. There were many, many, many strings, not just my familiar black strings of hate. Townspeople cheered, then fell into prayer. Please be on with your daily activities. We must complete the final ritual in private. Next time you wake up, the world will already be saved. So please, rejoice and enjoy. Oh boy! After dispersing the crowd, Keeper brought Towa and me to a hidden door behind the shrine. She opened it to a deep stairway. As she did so, she appeared very calculating. Mikami Itoha descended first, her back disappearing into the darkness. Here we go again. Towa and I entered next. Keeper closed the door behind us, cutting off the sunlight, leaving us with only dim lights and stony walls. Why do I have a feeling that somehow Keeper engineered things for Shiki to take Mikami Itoha's place? Like it's some sort of sacrificial stasis. Some sort of sacrificial stasis that Mikami Itoha was in. And by replacing her with Shiki, Mikami Itoha is free to return? I don't know enough. Towa and I entered next. Keeper closed the door behind us, cutting off the sunlight, leaving us with only dim lights and stony walls. We walked down and down and down. Keeper, will salvation bring Shiki back? Yes. In this darkness I saw a few strings. Neither Keeper nor Mikami Itoha had a single string of any color connected to their bodies. Lingering headache from sensory overload made time seem to fly by. Walking, walking, walking. We eventually reached the end of the steps. Whoa! Keeper led us through a doorway, a different place than the crypt where Mikami Itoha once slept. It was a strange room, a holy room. Walls were made of brick and stone. Light fixtures ran among them and lit the room. Ground was carved out with a pit too deep to see the bottom. I didn't want to see the bottom. Hitting my heartbeat erratically, not from the exercise I just had, but from whatever was hidden in that pitch-black abyss. It was something cold. It was looking at the light. Demons stood in the many corners of the room, accompanied by Keeper and Mikami Itoha, who had already moved into their places. I saw one other human figure. Towa was shocked. Shiki! That human figure, that person, was expressionless, like a doll. Towa dashed over to that person, the girl who looked just like her. Shiki manufactured a smile. Towa. Shiki had died yesterday. She was now alive once more, standing before us and talking, even making an expression like helplessness as Towa hugged her. Had I hallucinated her dead body yesterday? Then I found something terribly wrong about the girl before me. Whatever she was, it wasn't Shiki. It was the same as Mikami Itoha, the same as the pit. It wasn't Shiki. It couldn't be Shiki. Because Shiki wasn't so cold and emotionless. Towa's expression filled with worry. You're so cold. Towa held her sister's hands, rubbing them lightly to warm them up. I approached the two. I felt the air temperature drop and shuddered. Looking up, I didn't see any sort of air conditioning vents around. How? Keeper grinned like she was about to laugh. This is the stringless god's blessing. Towa broke into a wide smile. Keeper looked at Towa like she pitied her. Towa. I understand. The stringless god didn't abandon us even though she was punished. The stringless god is merciful and kind. I'm so grateful. Keeper smiled gently. This feels really bad. Now then, before we can truly celebrate, we must complete the final ritual to salvation. Won't you join us? This also feels really manipulative. Like, even if this killing Shiki wasn't a means to bring back Mikami Itoha, killing Shiki was definitely a means to get Towa on board with whatever we're about to do now. Keeper handed Towa the ceremony sword, and I lit a candle. Let there be light. Led in a place, we started the ritual. Towa performed the gestures as Keeper directed. As I held the candle, watching in trepidation as the wax melted and the light danced far too wildly, Towa appeared determined. No wind reached this place. Even my unsteady hands could not make a candle flame distort as it did before me. The wax that touched my fingers was cold. The air congealed and warped. Darkness in the pit overflowed, brushing past my legs with chill. But like gas, yet my skin screamed that black sludge was burning through my shoes. I hastily looked down, squinting to see that nothing was wrong with my legs. It was only darkness, a color that did not reflect light. This was a stringless thing. Towa frowned. I don't think this will work out the way I wanted it to. Towa smiled at me sadly. I'm sorry. Can I tell you something selfish? I nodded. I fell in love with you, Mana. I could see the strings connected in my own body, that I'm sure there would be a red string of fate between us. That's the one thing normal people have gotten right. She spoke helplessly. It's the color of love. Looking at our hands, I saw the warm red string connecting our fingers. Like the color of blood, this red was terribly warm. Yeah, this is definitely going to end badly. I see it. Towa's brows rose. You can see the other colors too? Because of what happened to your eye. I see. I also like you very much. No, it's called love, isn't it? I also fell in love with you. She smiled for a brief moment. I'm so happy. That smile was whisked away. I have something I need to take care of. Shiki doesn't have any strings. I looked towards Shiki, who now stood amongst the monsters, prostrating themselves toward the abyss. They were like compasses, every piece of them pointing to the depths. Not a single figure there had a single string. Yeah, she doesn't. Shiki doesn't have any strings, not to anyone, not even to you. Because dead people can't come back to life no matter how much I want them to. I know my sister, my twin sister. We're two halves of one whole. That's not my sister. I wanted to believe, but I can't. Towa looked resolute. Oh, what are you going to do? I'm going to do something that you might not approve of. You could report me to the police if you want. Eh? Begging for the motions Keeper directed, Towa gripped the sword tightly in her hand. She rushed over to Shiki and stabbed her little sister's body in the chest. Because that wasn't Shiki. A harsh cold swept through the darkness, now lapping at my waist. I sputtered, choking out the mist that floated up to my nose and seemed to meet eyes with the colorful black. The thing that looked like Shiki smiled emptily. "Why do you want to kill me?" Towa glared. "You're not my little sister. However, this flesh and blood is the same as yours. I am Mikami Shiki." Tears rolled up in Towa's incensed eyes. "Don't use my little sister's body!" Towa ripped the blade out of Shiki's body and it collapsed like a puppet without strings. Blood poured out onto the ground beneath the girl who should have been sleeping. That shade of red didn't fit her, not like the red dress she liked to wear. A tear dripped down Towa's cheek. I rushed over to her side, chucking the candle in my hand to the ground. The erratic flame disappeared, smothered by the ground. All of her rage was gone. All that was left was sadness. "Towa! I'm sorry I couldn't protect you." She looked down at her sister's body and dropped the sword with trembling hands. Keeper glared, frowning deeply. "You shouldn't do that." Oh boy, the ritual seemed to fail, the black haze disappearing. Monsters shifted to surround us. This is quiet reality. Mikami Itoha stopped them by doing nothing more than approaching us. Bare feet slid along the ground without a single sound. I placed myself in front of Towa. She smirked emptily. "Do you truly prefer to take the more difficult path? Then I will grant you your wishes. Even the pitiful little creatures should be given a choice, reward for all they have done. This is a shining world." She touched both of our foreheads. "Cut." Then Mikami Itoha and the monsters turned to dust. What? Their infinitesimally small fragments blew away, disappearing into the void. I looked for their last companion, Keeper. She was nowhere to be found. Even the depths of the pit had disappeared. At that time, we hadn't realized what had gone wrong. A low rumbling filled the walls, followed by a sharp creak. The world began to shake around us, sending me tumbling into Towa. The floor and ceiling crumbled as they shook, thin cracks growing larger each second. We have to go." Towa only silently looked on with teary eyes. I grabbed her hand and tugged, but Towa would not budge. "I don't want you to die too, let's go!" Towa was defiant. "Shiki's body is here." "What about me? What am I? Do you understand how much I want you to be happy, to live and smile?" Resolve dissipated at my outburst. We'd be buried alive if we stayed. I didn't want her to be crushed by rock and darkness, never to feel the warmth of sunlight again. She hadn't had the chance to live life yet, the chance to be carefree and happy for many, many years, and to grow old surrounded by good things. I was selfish. I wanted to see her happiness. "Mana!" Rocks tumbled from the ceiling, bouncing next to us. The ground around the pit fell to pieces, deep cracks running through the stone. Shiki's body slowly slipped into the void. Towa watched silently as her sister vanished forever. She held my hand back and took a step forward closer to me. Her pretty golden eyes, covered with a film of tears, met mine as if seeking reassurance. I nodded. Then we fled. Turning my head one last time, I saw the stringless god. Oh! It was evening. The sun was disappearing behind the horizon. The low hum of the engine and the clickety-clack of the wheels along the rail filled the train compartment. Tickets in our pockets had the destination written as a station in Teta. My luggage was stored in the overhead compartment along with a single bag of her personal items. My right eye had returned to normal. However, I could no longer see the black strings of hate. Regardless of which hue I gazed at, not a single person had strings of any color. I'm sorry. Couldn't fulfill my promise to you. I'm sorry. I held her hand and closed my eyes. Can you become my anchor, Mana? shook my head slowly, feeling her tremble against my shoulder. Couldn't find the right words to say. Her voice lowered to an even quieter whisper. Such an ugly world. I don't know why Shiki loved it. I'm really curious. Wow, 6 dead ends. We have 2 Towa endings, 2 Shiki endings, and lots of dead endings. We have our main characters here. So we have very much learned here is that when you sever all of your strings, you become a monster. And the true form of the stringless god is something beyond eldritch. Oh, is that gonna... You found Mikami Itoha. Yeah, when you have all your strings severed, something monstrous happens. Something utterly monstrous happens. And what happened to Mikami Itoha? And what happened to, God, there's so many questions yet. That was a lot to unpack at the very end there. That's definitely... definitely a bad ending here. Wow, alright. I suppose next time we'll try and continue to explore Towa's route and see how we can go about getting a better ending. This feels, if I had to venture a guess, it feels somewhere in the realm of, this is reality. We don't buy into the illusion of Shiki being alive. We fail the ritual, lose our powers to view to see strings, and have to flee, living ostensibly a miserable life, trying to get by. I'd say, God, did it again. Yeah, pretty much lived up to... Yeah, I'm... That ending came upon me like a ton of bricks, I think. Definitely moved fast from after the dance to after the thread-cutting sword dance. Things moved very fast. Shiki died. Mikami Itoha lived. Then we went to complete the ritual. That's my prediction. Not knowing anything about how the actual ending split happens, what it consists of. That's my prediction, is that because we went reality those 3 times we were prompted, that's what somehow got us out of the ending. So it got us out of finishing the ritual, and was essentially got us into a bad ending. We'll find out next time, though. We will very much find out next time as we explore alternate events. There were a few things we did that were Shiki-based, not Towa-based. Try and catch up on those, so we can be all Towa all the time. I really like Towa. I really like both the Mikami sisters. I want to review what we know about Mikami Itoha. I swear that's a really unsettling implication here. I swear they describe Mikami Itoha as the older sister of Towa and Shiki. And if Towa and Shiki are the daughters of Mikami Itoha? And they also described Mikami Yasunobu as... I mean, which could be true if they were sisters, but it's a really concerning implication that they were born from her. I don't think we have enough answers yet to explain that whether it was a really concerning situation with Yasunobu and Itoha, or if there's some other implication of, like, surrogate parenthood to your little sisters or something. Implication being that Mikami Itoha is a holy woman who gave birth to these two. That alone is very concerning to think about, but that birthed these two sisters into this very concerning life, and they have not had the chance to live their best life. If anything, Shiki has, by virtue of the accident that left her cast out from priestesshood on account of being blind. But, yeah, Towa just trying to do the best that she can for Shiki. Never do the best that she can for Shiki for the sake of the shrine and her family, and probably, consequently, for the sake of Shiki. That's a hell of a burden on poor Towa's shoulders, and it's really sweet getting to see just Towa a bit relaxed and comfortable for once. It's a really sweet change of pace for her. So, next time, better endings. Better endings. We will experiment, we will try, we will see what we can change. We'll try and get a better ending. We'll try and get more dead endings, too. And once we finish off Towa's side, we will go for Shiki path. Until next time, until then, mind your strings.